All right, so we're going to talk about this last panel of the day. I think most people are just bored at this point, but we'll try to make it fun. We'll be talking about the incentive layer. So we'll talk about like tokenomics, governance, and just generally, how prediction markets are incentivizing users and just generally, like incentives. So I guess like first of all, like I think a lot of us here are like crypto natives, and we all know that like incentives drive outcomes, and especially in crypto, right? Where money can move from like one DEX to another or one product to another in a matter of days, because like capital just moves based on incentives and where the user experience is best, and I think that applies very nicely into prediction markets as well. So I guess like to start off, obviously like no major prediction markets have launched a token yet. And I guess like the first question that we need to ask in terms when we're talking about like incentives in crypto and prediction markets is like, do prediction markets really need a token to kind of like operate or like stay competent? Maybe Loxley, if you want to kick it off, just because I know you guys have kind of like started thinking about launching a token for like related to Myriad, and kind of like what was the thought process and when?
Farouk's always going to do that. This is like the fifth time that I'm on a stage and Farouk says, "Win token." For you, never. I don't want to steal your hot take here too, but I think we agree. Your hot take is
99% of tokens shouldn't exist. Sorry, guys.
99% of tokens should not exist, and I think that we will see a lot of prediction markets launch tokens unnecessarily. The answer to the question, do prediction markets need tokens? I think as a consumer application, the answer is glaringly no, they don't. But I think that there are a lot of opportunities for tokens within the prediction ecosystem to both support adoption, driving incentives also, obviously. But then also when we look at the underlying layer of predictions as the financialization of information, there's so many opportunities for scale from this niche asset class of financialized information to real capital markets. Like if you look at the securities industry, right? Ultimately, there will need to be robust APIs built for arbitrage routing, for indexing, for all of these different applications. And I think that having tokens that support or gate access to APIs and create opportunities for people to participate in the capital efficiency of these proprietary models like Kalshi, Polymarket, Myriad, others. I think there's an opportunity.
Any other thoughts? Augus, you may.
Yeah, sure. Kind of start off with a hot take there. The way I see it, if you can do everything that you can do with your token without your token, then you don't need a token. A token should give you underlying utility. It should do something for your protocol that you can't do otherwise. So I believe in terms of prediction markets, you could make a token and you could gate access to APIs using the token. You could present multiple fee tier structures that get unlocked with certain staking amounts. But I think those are just means to an end to justify a token. I think where prediction markets need a token is on the Oracle resolution layer. And Oracle does need a token for its utility. So that is where I believe tokens can come into the picture when it comes to prediction markets.
Yeah, to that point, I would say that the data layer is probably the most important from a tokenization point of view. So with a lot of applications that are just a prediction market, I'm going to add the third to that it's just unnecessary to a degree. But when we're talking about how important the data is to these prediction markets, that's really where this information becomes really important. So I don't think narratives will always change. They'll always be big or small and disappear eventually. But the need for that data is the real important thing for all of these markets. So that's what we think about with Index.fun is that data pipeline needs to be aggregated. It needs to be attested. It needs to be valid, and I feel tokens might have a good part to play in that.
Yeah, so maybe let me start with good afternoon, Singapore. I hope you still have... Yes, I know it's later, but I hope you still have some energy in there. Talking about tokens, well, I know a bit. We did launch a token in March as Redstone. It is a pain. I can tell you it's been one of the most stressful events in my entire life because of the complexity and many things that you cannot foresee. But an oracle needs a token, in my opinion, and I believe many of the panelists are going to agree, in order to ensure that the quality, accuracy of the data is of the highest fidelity. So if a data provider within our network of Redstone delivers bad data, it's being slashed. How the token is going to be used in prediction markets, that's another question, right? And specifically, if prediction markets needs a token, they don't, in my opinion, because both Polymarket, Kalshi, and other platforms do work right now. But they could, in the sense that I believe you don't know until you try. In the sense, like, if you're not, if at heart your intention is not to do a cash grab, but rather test a new model, then you should probably try, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have known like how Uniswap would turn out or like Ethereum in the first place, right? Like when Vitalik and the guys from Ethereum were launching ETH, they for sure did not foresee it being as big as it is right now, right? I highly doubt it that they could imagine that happened that quickly. I think he even on a podcast recently said that. So with prediction markets, I do believe if someone is going to come up with like new model that will enable mechanism design and incentivization of specific moves from the players, that can be something big. And I do want people to explore that. The reason being, I think prediction markets are going to be enormous. Like it's speculating on everything, right? Like prediction markets almost has no boundaries. With big powers come big responsibility. And a token can play like an integral role in how we are going to evolve that industry. Because right now it's working already, but the potential for sure is untapped yet.
Yeah. Makes sense. Before we jump onto another topic, I guess on tokens, does anyone have any thoughts on like what major prediction markets can learn from like big consumer crypto apps or like that were big in like back in the day, like like OpenSea or PumpFun or whatnot? Is there anything that prediction markets can learn from them in terms of like launching a token or like approaching a token launch?
I would personally say learning from what's already existing in the other side of the market, the TradFi section. So how people run their books, how people create their order books, all of that kind of stuff. I think in the Web3 world, we tend to kind of go, the others, we don't like them, we don't want to be part of that community. And I think it just creates these problems that you're seeing with Polymarket, Kalshi, where they're kind of getting picked on by regulators and stuff like that. So I'm not saying we should be completely Web2 and act like a normal gaming company, but we should learn from their mistakes because it's been an industry that's been around for a very long time, just outside of crypto.
Yeah, makes sense. Any other thoughts before we jump onto... We'll talk about another, like one of the biggest problems in prediction markets, like with a lot of these markets, which is liquidity. How do each of you, like in your respective, companies think about incentivizing liquidity, attracting more users, attracting more volume? Anything that you've successfully done up until now, or anything that you're working towards?
Yeah, so I think liquidity is a large issue in prediction markets and has been for a long time. There's two ways to trade a prediction market. There's an AMM, an automated market maker, and there's a central limit order book. And the problem is in prediction markets, the odds move way too quick. So as a liquidity provider, you don't want the odds to move against you because then you take on impermanent loss. And part of the definition of prediction markets is sometime at one point there will be information revealed that just swings the odds 5, 6, 7x. This has been an unsolved issue. I think there's been a lot of good attempts and a lot of good designs that have tried to kind of bridge that gap. But right now, in terms of liquidity, the best we have come up with is a polymarket model where we literally pay for limit orders. We pay people to put limit orders on the book, and that's what gets the liquidity going.
Any other thoughts or like experiments that you'd want to share regarding like incentivizing liquidity?
Yeah, in my opinion, prediction markets are going to end up like DeFi, in the sense you're going to have the blue chip prediction markets or like the majors and middle tail and then the long tail, right? And as it is with DeFi right now, some people trade meme coins with lower cap, some trade perps on BTC ETH like the major purse. So we already know that election in the US is probably like the most like Bitcoin of prediction markets probably, right? Maybe you guys know any other that is like as big as such. And it's going to be repetitive, right? Like we know it's going to repeat it over and over and over again. Then we are going to have like championship in football, like global one or anything else. So those are going to be the events that will behave differently than the middle tail and the long tail. So the liquidity is going to also has to be bootstrapped in different direction. As Redstone, we recently acquired a company, which was also an interesting endeavor. It's called Credora. It's the biggest platform for DeFi ratings. What the rating is, it's a business of S&P, Moody's, Fitch, that rate a risk of a specific asset or a strategy. And right now we are doing that with Morpho, Camino, Euler, and the future other lending markets. But in Q1 next year, I really would like that model to expand to prediction markets, so that regular users would know that, for example, elections in the United States probably is going to get A rating because of its liquidity, because it's very hard to manipulate in a sense, and it's been resolved many, many times without any issues, right? And on the other side, we are going to have markets such as, am I wearing a suit today? Well, you probably are going to say no, but we know that there was a market that resolved yes, no, and then the fashion designer of Zelensky had to say, yes, that was a suit in the end, right? So those are kind of markets that will probably get lower rating. So if you're an enthusiast and you know how to play with fire, naturally play with it. It's not that we are going to forbid it, but for the general public, they should know it's higher risk kind of resolution, because it's not obvious. It's very, very subjective, whether it's a suit or not. And there are plenty of such cases.
So it's my opinion that there are no such thing as free lunches anywhere, right? Even on the consumer application participation side. On Myriad, we do charge a fee for transactional volume. Some of the things that this does is it prevents wash trading. Our users are real highly engaged users. Our volumes are not as high as they could be because we're not incentivizing bad behavior or wash trading or false optics. But what it also does is this small, tiny fee goes to the liquidity providers on our platform. And what this does is it keeps platforms or content creators, in our part, like our content creation team, is not only incentivized but required to create event contracts that are exciting, relevant, and contextually relevant to the user, right? We present our users with on-brand markets, relevant markets that we know that they'll engage with, and our conversion rates are higher because of it. We have to generate a large transactional volume to liquidity ratio in order to generate enough fees to offset the potential losses of our liquidity providers. Liquidity providers on Myriad feel a lot more confident in knowing that they're generating revenues than going in and saying, "Hey, I'm going to end up with all of the losing shares on this side." It's a long path to scale that type of model, and we're doing it very organically. But some of the other things that we found interesting, a few weeks ago, we just deployed our first perpetual sentiment markets. Markets such as a random question of up or down with no resolution ever, right? They will live forever. And we take a tiny, tiny fee on transactional volume, and you're just PvPing, like trading against other people. But what this does is, while we've locked liquidity in this market, there is no resolution, and so there's not going to ever be any loss. All we have to do over time is drive enough transactional volume there to clean, and to clean up a little bit of fee from the users to offset the potential losses of other LPs. In the last 2 weeks, this market went from a silly game of up down to, I think today we broke maybe $690,000 in transactional volume on the question up or down. Seems silly. It turns out it's a lot more productive of a social experiment than we even imagined it would be.
Silly times.
Yeah, this kind of stuff's always interesting because I'm a big fan of the trading fee structure as well. We do something similar where we pay out a fee to the creator of the index, so we let them create whatever prediction market they have, and then that incentivizes them to really want to step forward and handle any losses because they'll be made up for fees, similar to what you guys are saying. I think it's a lot more of an ethereal question, the liquidity thing, because more and more prediction market companies are going to need to figure out a solution for their particular need, and I actually think that's a good thing. It means there's no more lazy kind of getting it off the shelf and finding one guy with a lot of liquidity and then everyone kind of gets burned kind of a thing. So yeah, to be honest, I think that's the most important part, is that everyone's trying to solve it for themselves and the industry's better for it.
Yeah, makes sense. Next question. This topic has... Wait, it's already been mentioned a few times over the conversations, but it's around market resolution. I think there's incentives play a role there in kind of like how markets get resolved. And they are the foundational. They are like the foundation of trust for a lot of these prediction markets. So I guess the hot topic or like the question is, who should ultimately decide market outcomes? Should it be outsourced to oracles or to like an external oracle, or should the resolution happen in-house?
Yeah. When you participate in a prediction market, when you're trading, you're not actually trading on what will happen at the end of the prediction market. You're trading on how the person will resolve this prediction market. So when you have centralized resolution, you're trusting the company not to rub you. So that's why I believe that you should try to make it as permissionless, trustless, and immutable as possible, so that you have a decentralized, theoretically sound, kind of economically sound way to resolve these markets. The problem is it should cost you more to misresolve a market than the benefit you get from misresolving this market. And there's a lot of ways to kind of go around and try to solve for this sort of problem. What you shouldn't do is you shouldn't assume that problem doesn't exist. As we scale prediction markets into the trillions of dollars of open interest, a large incentive for somebody to collude and try to break the resolution mechanism of the actual prediction markets. That's why I think these very robust designs like Augur and like these other designs where you're not trusting anyone to resolve the markets. You're trusting in the open market to provide a profitable way to resolve a market in a truthful direction, which is more profitable than resolving it in an untruthful direction. So you need ways to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say to that point, similar to what you were saying about ratings agencies, we don't need to do everything in-house. And I think it works against us because eventually people are going to go, no matter what the answer is, you guys came up with it. We need the answer from somewhere that I can see that makes sense. So that's what I'm saying with like our data pipeline, for example, that the data needs to be attested. That's becoming more and more important because there will be a question, why did it resolve this way and why did it not, right? So if you have that data layer already there, the whole community can sleep better at night knowing that it's been rated and attested properly.
I think there's also the interesting aspect from like a founder platform perspective of liability. And not saying that we want to like offload our liability onto these Oracle guys. But like in terms of just efficiency in building, like there's a huge argument for for decentralized Oracle-based solutions, and we're big proponents of it.
Do you know when I first saw prediction market, what immediately popped in my mind? Insurance. This is literally like how insurance works in traditional markets, right? Did the hurricane actually hit the town? Yes, it did. Did it do the damage that was written in the insurance contract? Okay, so now we are going to see who's going to resolve that, right? And I do know right now in South America, people use Kalshi and other prediction markets sometimes to even hedge against the catastrophes and natural disasters. In my view, we should segregate Oracle outcomes for prediction markets. Those that are fairly easy to verify, like who won the elections in the United States. In my opinion, it should be 100% an Oracle with zero knowledge proof that is delivered on chain, and then you just trust the math. This is easy. You know when it's going to happen. You know there's probably not going to be like a big sway. Then if it's going to be 50-50, that's going to be interesting, right? And then maybe there's going to be recounting of votes or whatever. So there are edge cases still, but this is fairly simple market. Then you're going to have markets such as price. So for Bitcoin, ETH, and whatsoever, this is probably also fairly easy. I mean, we do price very, very well. Then you're going to have price for long tail tokens, those that are very easy to skew. And before the market has been resolved, you pump the price or you short. And then it's actually very close to perps at that point then. And then you're going to have those hard to create kind of like prediction markets. One of them being natural disasters or weather. And over here, interesting alpha I can tell you is I'm from Poland. And there are not many big startups from Poland, but there is one that is creating satellites. It's the biggest company in the world that's creating satellites that is using radio waves to do pictures on the ground, right? And they're already working with insurance companies. And I already floated to the founder that I know that I would like to replicate that model with prediction markets, and them being a data source for us as an oracle for the resolution of the market. And then you trust that third party. And then maybe answering the question whether it should be in-house, it can also be, as long as the users are fine with that. I mean, we trust AWS that they are not going to switch off computers tomorrow, right? Like in regular world, we trust a lot of people and a lot of companies. I don't think it's ideal. We should strive for more decentralization, going towards like resilience, but it's also working, right? I believe Kalshi right now is resolving its market by themselves, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think most of the drama happens during the resolution. If you think about all the polymarket drama, it's not actually polymarket drama, it's UMA drama, right? So I do like your take. It's like you do want to abstract away the drama and the PR disasters to these oracles and let the oracles take the heat. And that's fine. We'll do it for you as long as you pay us, as long as we can charge fees on it. But we also have to do it in a decentralized way. So I do kind of agree with you. I think the Trump market is not an easy market to resolve. There's a lot of money at stake into saying Trump did not win and then taking billions of dollars from the market. So it's about putting that information on chain and how that information is put on chain before you wrap it in a zero knowledge proof and let that do the work. And it's like, what are the incentives of the people that are putting the truth on chain? And what is the consequence of them polluting and lying? Because there's a big pot of money for them to do it. So what's stopping them from doing it? Is it legal? Is it KYC? Or is it a permissionless structure where anyone can participate in it and then make money from doing so and lose money if they're wrong? So, Oracle solve a very hard problem, and nothing's easy with oracles.
And I do believe it should be legal as well. I mean, in crypto, we don't do many legal contracts, but in regular world, it is like, hey, you screw up, you pay a fine or you go to jail or whatever, right? If you want to create something that's big, there should be also consequences if you screw up. And yeah, like we are ready for that, for example, as Redstone.
I think this was a great conversation where I think through incentives, we kind of touched on, the top hot topics in prediction markets, from market resolution to liquidity to do prediction markets need tokens. So yeah, thanks for joining, and thank you everyone for listening.